Alright, well, good evening everyone. It's kind of late, but the time is 10:19 p.m. The day is July 27th. I just wanted to give you an update on weather that is coming to the region. Wednesday night to Thursday morning, we are going to be having a potential severe weather event across Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. More likely southwest Michigan, heading into northeast Indiana, and then through the state of Ohio. We have the potential for a derecho. A derecho is a line of strong thunderstorms that can produce very damaging wind gusts, even some isolated tornadoes over a large swath of land. I think it's around, if a line of storms lasts over 240 miles, it is classified as a derecho, over 240 miles with severe winds. So there's potential for that. The ingredients are coming into place where we can have a long-lived line of supercell thunderstorms along a line extending all the way from Wisconsin down through southern Ohio and even into West Virginia. So there's going to be a lot to keep an eye on in terms of the weather. First of all, before we get into the information that I want to give you, just a reminder, all this stuff, you can subscribe. Feel free to do so if you're interested. We're just getting started. We started off at Cedarville University, but now we're trying to spread out and go into multiple places across the Great Lakes region. So go ahead and scan that QR code if you're on desktop to get connected with all of our different methods that we have to communicate to you. So Great Lakes weather, make sure to connect in that way. Alright, so now we are just going to dive right in to the weather. Alright, so this is the Day 2 convective outlook from spc.noaa.gov. This is for Wednesday into Thursday, so as you can tell, there's a little bit of an avocado appearing off in the Midwest and into the Great Lakes region. This is our severe weather threat. So we have an enhanced risk across the entire state of Wisconsin pretty much. Eastern Minnesota is also in this threat, so that's going to be something that's going to be where the main line of severe thunderstorms begins to develop. And in fact, the SPC has sort of changed it up a little bit into where the angle, it used to be heading straight across down into all of lower Michigan, but now it seems to be just targeting southwest lower Michigan into northern Indiana and northwest Ohio. So storms will begin to initiate across eastern Minnesota, probably near Minneapolis, and then progress southeast through places like Wisconsin, hit Milwaukee, towns throughout northwest and southeast Wisconsin, across Lake Michigan, maybe weaken over Lake Michigan, but they will pack a punch up once they hit the Michigan border along the Lake Michigan, and then they'll progress southeast through Ohio and then into West Virginia. Even Pennsylvania and Maryland could see some severe weather from this. So, like I said, this is derecho potential. The weather, the National Weather Service saying there's derecho possible. A long-lived line of mesocyclonic systems might progress across the area. Our tornado risk, as current by the SPC, I think they may spread it a little bit eastward. Forecast soundings around the area in southwest Michigan and Indiana and Ohio are kind of showing maybe there might be a small threat of tornadoes, but as of right now, they decided to keep it back more towards Wisconsin, Minnesota, where those storms begin to initiate. And then as they form more of a convective line moving southeastward, they'll lose that tornado threat and will likely be more of a straight line wind damage threat as they progress through Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, and continue east-southeastward in that direction. Wind is the main concern. Significant wind damage is possible in actually more areas than are just shaded in the hash mark region. It depends on how long these storms can last. They're going to be moving into a very favorable environment for continued intensity, so they will likely continue to move eastward, east-southeastward, gradually begin to weaken once we reach the early morning hours. The storms aren't going to hit Michigan until about hit Michigan until maybe about midnight. So the main line of severe storms. So it's going to be kind of late in the night. You're probably going to wake up to a lot of rumbles of thunder, maybe some wind. If it's strong enough, you're going to want to keep your eyes peeled for some severe weather that will be moving through. So wind is the main threat from this. Hail is going to stay off to the northwest where the storms begin to initiate. Not expecting really extreme hail from this storm in the Great Lakes region. Maybe in the Upper Peninsula and maybe along the shoreline of Michigan you'll see some hail, but nothing really significant. Indiana, Ohio, don't really worry about the hail threat. Alright, So that's what the SPC is giving us right now. I'm going to show you the models and show what those are actually forecasting in terms of timing and when these storms are going to arrive. So here we have the model, HRR model. The two models I'll be looking at today are the HRR and the NAM. These are the ones I typically go to, and a lot of meteorologists typically go to. I basically follow in the footsteps of meteorologists whenever I'm making these forecasts. So they're using the HRR model. This is for 5 p.m. on Wednesday, so storms are just initiating off of Minnesota and places like northwest Wisconsin. These storms will initiate up here in the northern areas, and Apostle Islands will get hit by some of the severe weather. That's actually a place where I'm going later this week, so that's going to be fun. But anyway, changing the subject. All right, we're going south. So these storms are going to go southeast as I continue heading southeastward. You see the storms continue to initiate. If we get a little forecast sounding, it shows a little bit of a hazard type. We get an idea of what we could see from these storms. Right now, there's not really a hazard type or a hazard to the storms that would develop in northern Wisconsin. I don't know if the HRR is really doing a good job in forecasting that, but it seems the severity of storms will be more likely in Minnesota and Wisconsin. But you have these pop-up showers and thunderstorms moving through. This is at about 7 p.m. And then they start to really take off as we get into later in the overnight hours. So this is at 10 p.m. They're still in Wisconsin. Some are entering. There's quite a cluster of storms. There's going to be a lot of heavy rain with this one. A lot of heavy rain moving through the Upper Peninsula. So that's going to be something you're going to want to keep an eye on. The severe stuff is going to progress southward. If I get a forecast sounding for, let's try Kalamazoo County nearby. Marginal tornado risk, storm relative, wind, and height. It's looking slightly like there could be some supercells with the storm. The Cape is up in about the 2000s for some places. Surface Cape is about 1,800. So there could be a slight marginal tornado risk based on what this model's popping out. But I'm going to move farther into about 1 a.m. because that's when we see the storms really start to form more of a line. Now if we get a sounding from where we were marking before, still a marginal tornado risk, but look at the storm relative wind. It's way into that classic supercell range. So there might be quite a few supercells with the system, something to keep an eye on. And there's a lot of instability in the atmosphere for this stuff. These storms just continue to truck southeastward towards southern Michigan and then into eastern Ohio, and then Indiana might see the tail end of these stronger storms that are on the west side of this line of storms. So if we look at the severe weather maps in regards to the supercell composite, gives us an idea of where we could see a lot of supercells. Yeah, so it kind of matches up with what I was looking at before. Pretty high numbers. So these are pretty impressive numbers. This is the latest model that was given for me to forecast on as of 10:28 p.m. on, well, July 27th, as I said before. So this is what they're saying. Some supercell activity is quite possible with the storm. The bulk shear is what's really driving this stuff. There's 0 to 6 kilometer bulk shear. You can see there's just quite a bit of shear in the atmosphere coming out of the north, and it's just driving these storms forward. And if we look at updraft velocity, it gives us an idea of where tornadoes might occur, where updrafts may form. There's pretty much mostly across the northern areas of near Grand Rapids, Big Rapids, those places. But if I progress this a little bit southward, updraft velocity kind of increases and spreads out a little bit more across southern lower Michigan into Ohio, Indiana. That's where we could see potential tornadoes form, and it gives us an idea of if storms happen to produce ample rotation, where a tornado could track and could continue. So that's just something that's interesting to look at in regards to that. Now let's go back to the reflectivity. This is at 4 a.m. So these storms move through I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So see how it starts to form along this little pressure line right here. You can kind of tell that there's a nice defined line of storms, and these are what they're expecting to just progress southeastward, and they just continue to truck onward along with this low pressure system. And there's a lot of very pleasant air behind this. Over the weekend, we're going to see some very nice weather in southern lower Michigan, and basically areas where this cold front is moving through. Very pleasant weather ahead, but we've got to get through this major storm system in order to get a taste of what that actually is, because we've been dealing with humid air and very hot air for quite a while. So that's the HRR. Want to look at that. All right, so the NAM, a little bit different. It's forecasting a little bit more on the severe side. The HRR is a lot more conservative in regards to what we could see in regards to weather. Excuse me. So I'm going to actually progress it to very close to when the storms actually form. They're saying a more defined line of storms will actually form farther up to the north in Wisconsin. So it'll just progress southeastward, like basically the same thing the HRR was saying, only that the line will develop a little bit more north and become more defined in the north than starting in Michigan. So if you can see, the line just continues and is showing that there will probably be more activity. Well, it's actually showing that it'll weaken quite a bit. This activity will weaken quite a bit as it moves into Ohio. There's a lot. The instability in the atmosphere will be more faded by the time we get to morning. See, this is at 7 a.m. This is when the sun's just coming up. The instability in the atmosphere will not really be able to sustain storms for much longer, but with these types of storm systems, they could last a while depending on how much they have remaining to feed off of. So that's going to be the question. How long will this storm last and as it progresses southeastward? Could it be one of the bigger derechos that we see this year? So this is why I say the NAM is a bit more liberal in regards to what hazards we could see. They're showing not just a marginal tornado risk, but a legitimate tornado risk. Supercell forecasts are just crazy high on the NAM model. But yeah, classic supercell with the storm relative wind and height in the atmosphere. You can tell there's a little bit of, or at least I can tell that the NAM is putting out quite a bit of a threat for a tornado. But more likely, in regards to what all the models are saying and what most forecasters are actually saying, it's more going to be just a damaging wind threat. So that's something to keep an eye on. If I look at the surface-based CAPE here, CAPE is just through the roof, especially if you're in Wisconsin and those places. The derecho will probably be moving off to the east by then, so they probably won't be able to feed off that instability that it is in the atmosphere. This is at 1 a.m. Thursday morning, so this is already behind the derecho. But actually, let me take a look at that real quick. The reflectivity. Find it. I'm gonna have to go back to here. Yeah, so there'll be a lot of instability for these storms to feed off of, especially on the other side of the lake. So here you're not really getting as much instability, but you're getting enough wind shear, as the NAM will also show. The wind shear is quite substantial across the area. So the shear is what's really driving these storms to continue and just continue onward. So supercell composite shows a crazy number in Wisconsin, so that's why there's an enhanced risk out there. There's just quite a lot of energy out there, significant tornado parameters, and the NAM is just going crazy right now. 10.1, but given the HRR is really not giving that as much of a significant tornado parameter, I'd say maybe there will be a couple tornadoes with this. It's probably more rare to see one that's F3 or higher, and you definitely won't see an F5 from this. It's very unlikely. it's not going to be anything too significant in regards to tornadoes, but there will be some damaging winds in excess of 75 miles an hour from the storm, large hail, especially if you're in Minnesota, Wisconsin, or along the lakeshore of Michigan, and yeah, damaging winds are the main threat. Alright, so those are the two models I really look at. So if we take a look at what this future track model puts out, this is right now 10:35 p.m. There's a couple cells. There's actually a marginal risk across Michigan right now, so it'll probably show some of that on this radar track. But we're gonna start it at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So this is on Wednesday, so we're 24 hours before the actual event. You can see that the derecho is starting to form, the potential derecho. Right now it's just a cluster of thunderstorms. It's 5 p.m. You see the storm starting to form across Wisconsin. See what this model, this is interesting what this model is putting out. I think it's putting out what was shown in the previous model, in that a train of storms just develops and heads southeast through Michigan. So I don't think that's actually going to happen. That's where the actual legitimate convective line would develop, right here, and then just a train of stronger thunderstorms. Then we have our sustained line, and it just continues to progress through Ohio. Columbus is going to get hit, likely West Virginia, and then you have more severe thunderstorms in Pennsylvania and Virginia. So that's what this model's putting out. So that's pretty much what information I can give you in regards to storms. So severe storms are likely on Thursday morning, or stronger storms, not necessarily severe, but definitely some stronger storms, probably some that'll wake you up overnight, because they're going to be arriving around 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. across southwest lower Michigan, and then continue in the early morning hours through Indiana and Ohio, progressing southeastward. So that's pretty much what and no doubt these storms would have a lot of moisture to feed off of. Look at dew points. Dew points in the 70s, mid 70s, even upper 70s over the lake. So the moisture is just there for the storm. The moisture, along with the shear, along with the high temperatures, and the sunshine that we're going to get tomorrow, this storm's just going to have all the ingredients necessary to make a severe weather event. So that's why the National Weather Service, or Storm Prediction Center, is putting out this enhanced risk for severe weather, because there's a lot this storm can feed off of. Will it be a moderate risk? I don't know, but that's something that I leave up to the Storm Prediction Center to decide. So, alright, thank you for watching. Make sure to follow on other resources. Go back to that QR code that I showed you at the beginning of the video, and hopefully this video was informative and could potentially make you more aware of what's going on in your area. Alright, so have a great evening and stay safe out there.